again, everybody. I'm Jerry Slater, and welcome to another episode of Your Town at Work. Today, we're going to devote our entire episode to one of the major initiatives going on in town these days, and that is the Comprehensive Plan, formerly known as the Master Plan. And we're lucky to be joined today by Sarah Dixon and Shannon Greenwell. Sarah, as everybody knows, is the Director of Community Development here in Norwood, and Shannon is the Chair of the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee. So, Sarah, first off, let me ask you, Comprehensive Plan, formerly Master Plan, what is it and what isn't covered in the Master Plan?
Sure. Well, thanks for having us on to talk about this really important project. A comprehensive plan is a visioning document, essentially, for any community. It typically covers the next 10 years, what you'd like to see accomplished in your community within that next 10 years. It includes major sections, housing, public infrastructure, economic development, but what it's not is any particular set of zoning changes. It's not any one project or development idea. It's really meant to be a broad view. It includes a lot of community engagement. It's really a document by the people and for the people, right? People get to contribute their voices and work together to decide what their vision is for the community that they love, what they want to grow, what they want to preserve, and set that forth to guide our actions in the next 10 years.
So it's really like a blueprint for the community. And, you know, from a planning standpoint, is that kind of the guidepost that you're expecting to be using for the next 10 years to really make decisions? How would it be utilized?
Absolutely. So one major portion of the comp plan is the action items. So in each category, there will be a list of specific tasks distributed across all of town. Some might be, for example, DPW tasks. Some might be planning department tasks. And so that's a great checklist for specific initiatives that you'll pursue at a later time to achieve the overall mission and goals that are set forth by the public through this plan. One other way that it's very helpful is often when we're applying for grants from the state, they want to see that this is something that's been established as a priority by the community itself. So having a particular idea or initiative explicitly mentioned and called out in the plan can make our applications a lot more competitive.
Okay. So we'll get back to the plan in a minute, but Shannon, you're chairing the steering committee.
Correct, yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about the makeup of the steering committee and what the steering committee is actually doing, some of the activities right now?
Yeah, certainly. No, we have a great community of people, all residents that have come to participate on the steering committee. I'm very happy to be serving as the chair. Our vice chair is a member of the planning board. We also have sitting members of the Board of Selectmen, the Conservation Commission, the Economic Development Commission, and then we also have at-large community members that are choosing to participate in the process with us. It certainly does not end with us, though. I think that our role is really to be representing different groups of people, different boards, different committees, but it's really our job to make sure that we are spreading the word out into the larger community so that we can make sure that we're not the only voices that are heard. It's our job to make sure that we are reaching out to as many community members as possible, sort of relaying the information, making it a welcome process, and making sure that people are aware of all of their opportunities to be able to participate. So it's certainly a group of people that have a responsibility for promoting the plan, making it a welcoming process, making sure we're sharing information, but it by no means ends with the group of people on the steering committee. We're just the conduit for getting information out and taking information from the community and making sure it's represented in the final plan as it comes together.
So I mean, you're dispelling a big rumor, which is great, which is that the steering committee is not the be-all and end-all to make the decisions.
Absolutely.
It's really about the participation of the town. And I know there are activities coming up around that, so we'll promote that a couple of times during this
definitely.
episode. But there's a big opportunity coming up in December for the community
Correct.
to get involved. Tell me a little about that.
Yes, so we do have an open house that's coming up. It's on December 10th in the evening from 6 to 8 p.m. It's going to be at the library, so open and accessible to anybody in the community. We'll have Sarah will be there, we'll have staff there, steering committee members will be there, and a lot of, when you're making a comprehensive plan, you need to hear from the people, like, what do you like about the town? What are things that you participate in? What are things that you want to keep doing over the next 10 years? What are things about the town that maybe we're not doing now, but you'd like to see in another 10 years? So we certainly can't lay out a vision for the community without getting a lot of community input. So that's certainly sort of the kickoff, I guess you would call it, of this next phase of the project, where we're really going to be going out and trying to get into a lot more community engagement. We had a chance to set up at Norwood Day. Very early in our process, we had a table, we had some posters up, people stopped by, they wrote on Post-it notes, this is what I like about Norwood, this is what I want to see more of, so we're hoping to just keep building on that. But I would call this sort of like the launch of, I guess, the community outreach phase of the project.
Super. And you talked about phases. So Sarah, I'm gonna test you because I think there are 4 phases of the comprehensive planning process. Can you walk us through those?
Sure. So generally speaking, you've got a lot of visioning, right? Kind of the basic, priorities for the town, what people enjoy about it. There's community engagement in all of the stages, but kind of conceptualizing the plan and establishing your foundation, kind of pulling all of those ideas together and getting more targeted feedback from stakeholders in each of those areas. Writing the actual plan, right? And then educating and further engaging with the community to fine tune it. That's generally the process. It will end up before Planning Board. The Massachusetts statute about master plans does require that Planning Board be the adopting entity. So it will go before Planning Board for vetting and for a final vote.
So it's the planning board that actually has the approval
Yes.
in it? Because I think a lot of people were confused about whether it's town meeting, whether it's the selectmen. So
Yep.
it is the planning board.
Yep. So
And I'm
hopefully,
assuming they'll have public hearings before us
absolutely,
and stuff like
yeah.
that.
All town meeting members certainly encouraged to participate in all of our community engagement. As a town meeting member, you have a really unique view in your knowledge and understanding of the town. So certainly, we want to make sure that those folks are engaged in the process, and we'll be finding very specific and meaningful ways for the selectmen to participate, in those earlier phases, so that their views are also represented in the final plan.
There's also a consultant involved, as I recall. How was the consultant selected? Who are we working with, and what's their role in all of this?
Sure. So this was an open competitive bid for our consultant. Typically, the lion's share of the budget for these types of plans are for consulting help. To do a comprehensive plan well, it's a lot of work, right? And so we being kind of communities generally, it's very common to hire a consultant with specialized knowledge and outreach and writing the plan, the technical side of things, to help kind of facilitate all of that. So we had a competitive open bidding process. The steering committee had a subgroup that reviewed the responses, all the proposals, and then selected the one that was the best value and offered the best services, a proposal that most met our needs. We ended up selecting J.M. Goldson, which is a fairly local firm. They have many years of experience doing all sorts of planning initiatives for communities across the state. We've actually worked with J.M. Goldson in the past. They had written a housing production plan several years ago, which was successful in helping us reach our goals under Chapter 40B. A lot of the initiatives outlined in that plan help us get there. So far we've been working with the principal of that firm and our project manager. They attend all of our meetings, they help produce our engagement materials, and they'll be offering assistance with the engagement ideas as well.
Before we get back, Shannon, to talking about the committee, the steering committee, Sarah, I'd be remiss, I know a lot of people, what's on their mind is how the hospital plays into all of this. Thoughts on that?
Well, as I said, the comprehensive plan isn't necessarily about any specific project or not. What I would say is that the vision part of it, right, our goals for our community, can be the most important thing because we never know what's going to happen in our community. In 2019, none of us had any idea that the Norwood Hospital would be closed, a year later. But our goals for the community have remained constant, right? We want economic development. We want to make sure there's jobs for people who live here. We want to make sure that the small businesses in town can continue to be supported by people who are working or visiting the hospital. We want to make sure that people have access to health care in our community that's local and high quality. If we had had a comprehensive plan at the time, I would have expected that it probably would have listed all of those things, and it would have given us the basis by which to respond to these needs that come up. It's hard to call a comp plan a roadmap, so to speak, because we just don't know what's going to happen down the road. But hopefully with the set of the mission and the goals and the ideals about how this community should thrive can help us weather any challenge that comes before us.
Super. So Shannon, the committee is meeting, I don't know how often they meet, but what have they accomplished thus
Sure.
far, and what's ahead for the committee?
Yeah, certainly. So the committee has been meeting monthly, and we really got going earlier this fall. A lot of what we're starting to do is really taking a look at what is the information that we have currently that we can give to our consultant. What are the plans that we've already put together? What are the reports? What is our understanding and experience of Norwood? So it's been a lot of brainstorming of where are places that are important to you in Norwood? What are things that you like to engage with? What are some challenges that you experience in your daily life in Norwood? And just starting to try and collect that so that we can be prepared to go out to the larger stakeholder group. Once we start hearing from our community members, we're going to get things like, I like outdoor space. We've heard a lot about outdoor recreation came up at Norwood Day. And then it's going to be our job to work with the consultant to understand if outdoor recreation space is a priority in your community, what are the tools that we have available to us over the next 10 years that we want to make sure that every time you're thinking about a project that's in this lane, we have heard from the people in our community that outdoor recreation is something that's important. So then it's going to be our job as a steering community to later, when the consultant produces the report and the strategies and all of their outputs, to make sure that we're saying, okay, this is what we heard from everybody over the past year and a half. Is that being reflected in what we're seeing that's coming out? So again, that monthly cadence allows us to stay on top of what's happening with the town staff and the consulting team, and also make sure that we're hearing about opportunities to go to community events and make sure that we're not missing any abilities to get out into the community where meetings are already happening, as opposed to asking people to take more time out of their day or week or month to come to something that's freestanding for the comp plan. So I think the open house is going to be great, and we encourage everybody to come at the beginning of December. Yep, December 10th, 6 to 8 at the library. But I think it's also very important to the steering committee that as there are meetings that are just happening in the community, that we can try to go to where people already are as well.
Where people are.
Correct.
And if people in the community want it, so your meetings are open, of course.
That's right.
So people can attend them. And I think you guys have a website for the plan. Would you get to it through I don't know if there's a URL, or you just get to it through the town website?
Yep, so both ways. You can get through it, the Community Development Department page on the website, and then there's also a page on the town's website, norwoodma.gov, to just go straight to the comp plans page, and that's on the menu bar on the homepage.
Yeah, and I think that so all the meeting materials were there, and there were even recordings of some of the meetings as well. So what are other ways that, talked about the open house, kind of as you look forward, this is a huge endeavor, and it's going to have a major impact on the future of Norwood. So people are very, very interested. What are the other ways that they can get involved in the comprehensive plan?
And this is something that it's been helpful to have the consultant on board as well, is that they are coming to us and they're giving sort of a toolbox of options for community outreach. Something that I think has been helpful that town staff has used in the past is even something like a survey. Maybe you're someone who isn't able to get out to a meeting, or there's just a lot of conflicts, sending out a QR code or a link where people can answer some questions in a Google form and make sure they're sending feedback that way. That's a different strategy than holding like a physical public meeting. I know we've been pushing information out by the website and social media. And then also just looking at, advertising in other committee and board meetings, making sure that if there's a community event like Norwood Day or an Earth Day event or something where tables are being set up, that we're out there as well. So I think it's not even just the number of times that you're trying to get out to people, it's are you thinking about different ways that people can engage with the process as well?
Yeah, one outreach strategy that I'm really actually very excited about is something that the consultant calls meeting in a box. And the idea is that you have kind of informal discussions with your own community. So if I hosted a meeting in a box, the consultant would give us the materials. Here are the questions that you guys should talk about. Here's how you should track some of the answers and take notes. Generally these are the things we're looking for feedback on. And I might have 5 or 6 friends over, for drinks and dinner, and be able to do that. Yeah,
good excuse for a dinner party. Get everybody together for it. Yeah.
And then each of those folks would participate and be encouraged maybe to host their own meeting in a box. The idea being, we want to get as deep and far into the community as possible. We know that not everybody participates in local government meetings, right? People are busy and people have different interests, and we want to make sure that we find as many ways to reach out to people. Like you said, meet people where they are. I love the idea of these informal meetings because I really think that could be an innovative tool to talk to folks and get the views of people who don't traditionally, get their voices heard at town hall,
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys, know from the get-go that the biggest challenge is to get as much input as you can, and you don't want to run the risk that only certain voices are heard, and you've got to get over that hurdle. So it sounds like you're proactively, and I'm assuming that anyone in the community can reach out to you with ideas around, come to my church group, come to my school, come
Absolutely.
to my Tupperware party, whatever.
And we encourage that for sure.
Yeah. Okay. That is great to hear. Sarah, I have to ask you, over the last couple of years, there have been decisions made about different zones in town. Housing has been clearly a hot topic with 3A. How will the comprehensive plan affect any of those decisions, or will it not, or do you expect to kind of overlay into them?
I think there's integration for sure. Some of the zoning changes we've made over the last, 5 to 7 years have been a result of their own strategic planning process. So when we talk about comprehensive planning, yes, it has been probably 30 years since Norwood's done a comprehensive plan, soup to nuts, all across all areas, geographically and topically in town. But that's not to say that the town hasn't been doing any sort of long-term planning. It has. It's done strategic planning on open space and recreation. It's done strategic planning on hazard mitigation. It's done strategic planning on the Central Business District, and it did one on Route 1. And that precipitated, the creation of the Boston Providence Highway District. So a lot of those actions I continue to remain in place because they were good changes that were made in response to a community-driven plan. But that's not to say that there won't be new ideas, of course, that come out of this, and certainly there's always areas of growth and ways to improve, or strategies to protect and preserve what we have and love and don't want to see go away. So I think there's a kind of natural, exchange there. Where we'll get to kind of harness information about those newer ideas that haven't been addressed, while recognizing what's worked from the changes we've made in the last 10 years.
Before we wrap, is there any other message or any other thing that you want to communicate to the community?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say we're really looking forward to talking to as many people as possible about this. Again, we have the open house coming up. There's a number of people that are affiliated with a number of different groups across town. It's actually a really great sort of cross-section of residents that are all participating in different community groups. So we would certainly welcome anybody if they wanted to invite, a member of the steering committee or a member of town staff to come talk about it, or even just reaching out through email. But it is certainly a process that we want to make sure is incorporating as many people as possible, because this is sort of going to be the vision for the next 10 years, and the way that we're going to be able to make sure that as we make decisions even after the comprehensive plan, I think it will serve as a touchstone of, is the decision that we're making in 7 years from now keeping in line with what we heard from the community at large about like what our values and our priorities are. So I think it's a great opportunity to make sure that even after this comprehensive plan is done, a lot of the groundwork that would be laid in the plan will be able to continue to help inform decisions to make sure that, and like Sarah said, it's not always changing things. Some of it is making sure that things that we love about the town are being maintained in the way that people want to continue to see them. But we can't do that without everybody in the town. So certainly I hope everybody feels comfortable that they can reach out to us and let us know that they would like to participate in some way.
Super. All right, so with that, I think that's ending on a great note. Reminding everyone, website, the meetings are open of the Comprehensive Steering Committee, monthly meetings, and there's an open house coming up on December 10th. So hope to see, I know I'll be there. I hope to see everybody there. And with that, Sarah and Shannon, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And once again, this has been Your Town at Work, and I'm Jerry Slater.